All right, and as I mentioned previously, I'll be using a size 3 weight yarn for the flowers, and I forgot to mention that I went down one hook size. Well, technically I have a 4.25 and my other hook was a 5.5, but I think a 4.5 or even a 4 size hook would work as well. All right, and I also wanted to show you guys where exactly I'm going to be working the flower. So I'm going to be working it directly onto the bandana itself instead of making it and sewing it on. You can make it and sew it on. I just prefer to sew as little as possible. So I'm going to be working kind of right in this circle right here. And so I'm going to be building my magic ring on these 2 stitches. So you'll notice I make the magic ring and then I'll put 7 stitches on this side, 7 stitches on this side, and then close the circle, and it makes this little effect right here where it attaches without having to sew it. So let me show you how I do that. So like I said, I'm just going to start with a magic ring. And instead of just crocheting right into it, I'm actually going to align it with the 2 double crochet that I'm going to crochet into. So kind of imagine that you're crocheting into this circle right here. I'm going to tighten this a bit. And you'll basically line it up, kind of grab onto the stitch that you're going to be working into. And then you're going to insert your hook into both the magic ring circle and underneath the double crochet that I pointed out earlier. And if it helps, you could also put your stitch marker around that double crochet, so just so that you don't mess up and accidentally go into the wrong one. So now we'll align our magic circle with that, and we'll single crochet into both the circle and underneath that double crochet. So you go 1 single crochet, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. And then if you lay that flat, you can see that on the other side, you're going to want to work in this double crochet. So let me move my stitch marker so I can show you. So you'll be working underneath this double crochet right here. So I'm going to kind of turn my work, put my hook back in, and kind of like you just did with the other side, you're going to single crochet into both the circle and underneath the double crochet. So let me move the stitch marker kind of to the side. There we go. So 1, 2, 3, oops, 4, I'm gonna move the stitch marker because it's getting in my way, 5, 6, and 7. So now you're going to tighten that circle, and it looks a bit wonky right now, but I promise it'll look better once we finish. So then the next step is just to slip stitch to that first single crochet that you made. And when I do this, I also like to, wait, let me make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sometimes my stitches get a bit hard to see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay. Slip stitch into the first single crochet. There we go. And I also like to put my yarn tail kind of underneath that. That way I work over the yarn tail, and it also gives me less stitching, sewing to have to do later. So this is kind of what it will look like at this point. Now we're just going to start making the petals. All right, so your first step is to chain 2, and then you're going to place 1 double crochet in the same stitch that you just slipped into. Then you're going to double crochet into the next stitch, again working over that yarn tail. Then you're going to chain 2 and slip stitch into the same stitch that you just worked. And there's your first petal. Now you're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. You're going to chain 2, and then you're going to double crochet in that same stitch. Then you'll double crochet into the next stitch, chain 2, then slip stitch into that same stitch. There's your second petal. Now you're just going to repeat that. I'll do it one more time. Slip stitch into the next stitch, chain 2, double crochet in that same stitch. So it looks like this, and then you're going to double crochet into the next. Then you're going to chain 2 and slip stitch into that same space. Okay, so right here we already have 3 petals. You keep doing that and you should end up with a total of 7 petals. All right, I just finished the first layer for the petal, and you should have 7 of them right here. And to make this 2-layer effect, you're basically going to be working behind the petals that you just made to make some chain spaces, and then you're going to be creating more petals in those chain spaces. So this is definitely the more complicated one of the 2 flowers. You could just leave it here. I think that's pretty, but I wanted to give a bigger effect with the 2-layer effect. So we're going to be working behind all the stitches that we just made. So your first step is to slip stitch into the back of the stitch like that. Then you're going to chain 3. Then you're going to slip stitch behind the first stitch of the second petal. Perfect. So now you have a chain 3 space right here. Now you're going to chain 3 again, slip stitch into the back of the first stitch. You can even do the first 2 stitches as well to give it a bit more security. Now you have 2 chain spaces right here. Now you're going to just keep doing that. So chain 3, slip stitch into the back of the first 1 or 2 stitches, and just continue that all the way around. You can see I left my yarn tail right here. I'm just gonna pull that out of the way. Okay, and then when you get to your first chain space, just kind of chain into the slip stitch that you originally made to finish it all up. And so this is what it looks like. It kind of still looks like that normal flower, but along the back you have all the chain spaces. All right, and the final step is that we're actually going to be working into those chain spaces that we just made. And so you're going to slip stitch into the first chain space, then you're going to chain 2, then you're going to put 3 double crochet into that same space, All right, then you're going to chain 2 and slip stitch into that same space. So there's your first petal, second petal right there. Now you're going to slip stitch into the next chain 3 space, chain 2, put 3 double crochet in that same space, chain 2, and slip stitch. Okay, so now that's 2 of your 7 petals formed. Now I'll show you one more time. So slip stitch into that chain 3 space, chain 2, and place 3 double crochet. Chain 2, and slip stitch into that same space. All right, so I'll meet you back here once you finish the rest of these petals. You should have 7 in total. All right, so for the pointy flower, I'll just show you how to make it into this right here. I didn't put any along the border, so just imagine that this is bigger, but I'll be working into these 2 double crochet right here because we're gonna be doing the same technique with the magic ring. So I'm going to mark my first side of the stitch, and this time instead of doing 7 single crochet per side, we're actually going to do 5. So go ahead and make your magic ring. And position it into the space that you want to be working. So I'm going to align this against the stitch, put your hook through the magic ring, and then underneath that double crochet that we had marked. And you're gonna do 1 single crochet, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Now we're going to be doing that same thing on the double crochet underneath here. So let me move my stitch marker. We're going to be working into this one right here. So turn your work, tighten up your ring a little bit, put your hook into the magic ring circle, and then underneath this double crochet that we had marked. And you're gonna do 5 single crochet. And I'm gonna move the stitch marker out of the way because it's very bulky and gets in my way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now tighten up that ring and go ahead and slip stitch to the first single crochet that you made. And again, I work over my yarn tail so that way I don't have to sew it in. And this is what that is looking like. All right, and to start the petals, you're going to chain 1, and then in the next stitch, you're going to place a half double crochet, then a double crochet in the same stitch. Then you're going to do a chain 2 picot, which I don't know if that's how you say that word, so pardon me if it's not. Then you're going to double crochet into the same stitch again. Then you're going to place a half double crochet in that same stitch. Then you're going to chain 1 and slip stitch into the same space. And there's your first petal made. Now you're going to slip stitch into the next stitch, chain 1, and into the next stitch, you're going to place that half double crochet, your double crochet, your double crochet picot. Oops, come on, there we go. Then you're going to do one more double crochet and one more half double crochet. Then to finish it, you chain 1 and slip stitch into that same space. So there are 2 petals made. So I'll just keep going around. Oops. So slip stitch, chain 1, in the next stitch do your half double crochet, double crochet, your chain 2 picot, and then your double crochet, half double crochet again, and chain 1 and slip stitch. So that's 3 of your petals. You're going to do 2 more, and then that will be the end of that. All right, I just finished the last petal, and I'm going to slip stitch back into the original slip stitch and cut my yarn, pull through, and that is your pointy flower right there. So again, I'll just show you kind of on this practice swatch, but you're basically just going to make your slip stitch, your slip knot, excuse me, I'm so used to saying slip stitch. And mine, I was working into the chain 3 border, but it's basically the same, just find kind of an end on the bottom of the bandana, then you're going to slip stitch right there. And then you're just going to chain 46. All right, and once you've chained all of that, we're just going to single crochet into the second chain from the hook and all the way down. All right, I just finished single crocheting into my strap, and now I'm just going to slip stitch into the next space, cut off my yarn tail, pull through, and that is your first strap made. Now you just repeat that on the other side and you'll have a bandana that's ready to use.